Good afternoon. I'm Lindsay Reiser. Thanks for joining us here on CBS News 24/7. CBS News has learned U.S. intelligence officials detected an Iranian plot against former President Donald Trump. Two officials confirmed they found out about the threat recently, and it was shared before Trump's rally in Pennsylvania on Saturday. But there's no information suggesting the threat was connected to the attempted assassination over the weekend. Let's bring in CBS News national security contributor Samantha Vinograd. She formerly served as the Assistant Secretary for Counterterrorism and Threat Prevention for the Department of Homeland Security in the Biden administration. So, Sam, what do we know about this threat, and why is Trump a target?
Well, Lindsay, I am unsurprised by reporting that there have been additional Iranian threats to Mr. Trump. During my time at the Department of Homeland Security, I worked with the U.S. Secret Service and others to review threats facing protectees, U.S. Secret Service protectees. And based upon Mr. Trump and his cabinet's decision to engage in the assassination of an individual named Qasem Soleimani, who was the head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, an entity that conducted terror attacks and supported terror attacks around the world. The Iranian regime vowed to avenge that assassination, and there have been an ongoing series of threats to Mr. Trump and specific members of his administration when they were in office and since they left office, Lindsay.
Do we know of any new threats against other Trump administration era officials?
The U.S. Secret Service has not disclosed that, but it is important to note that the U.S. Secret Service is not responsible for providing protection for anyone other than Mr. Trump and his immediate family after they left office. However, the U.S. Secret Service did continue protection for certain Trump administration officials after they left office, including National Security Advisor John Bolton, for a time Secretary of the Treasury Steve Mnuchin, and National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien. So I can tell you from experience working alongside the U.S. Secret Service and the intelligence community, they consistently evaluate for new threat information and have consistently over time adjusted their operational posture for protectees in light of that specific new threat information.
So the Secret Service sent us a statement saying they're constantly reviewing new potential threats and adjusting resources as needed and can't comment further. But given what you know about how this department works, you said yourself you're not surprised to hear of this news, that it was long thought, long assumed that Iran would at some point try and retaliate against the assassination of Soleimani. Do you think the Secret Service would adjust their posture here?
Well, according to the reporting, the Secret Service did adjust their posture in light of this latest reporting. But again, this latest reported threat from Iran against Mr. Trump is just the latest in an ongoing set of threats to Mr. Trump and Trump administration officials in light of the assassination of Qasem Soleimani and their larger policy against Iran. The Secret Service protection mission is twofold. They have an intelligence mission where, again, they work with members of the intelligence community to receive new intelligence and learn more about any threats affecting their protectees. And then when new threat information is received, they incorporate that into adjusted operational planning.
What do you think the public should know about this? I mean, obviously, this is another world power here, one that is often considered someone we are at odds with, a country we are at odds with, and a regime we are at odds with. What is your biggest takeaway for people at home?
My biggest takeaway, I have two, if you don't mind, Lindsay. The first is that the Iranian regime is engaged in efforts to harm U.S. citizens, including government officials, both here in the U.S. as well as abroad, and remains a huge threat to the American people more generally. And number two, that the U.S. Secret Service does evaluate threat information as it becomes available and adjust their operational posture.
We had mentioned no indication right now that this threat is in relation at all to the horrific events of Saturday. But what are some questions that would be asked, and would you like to elaborate on that?
Well, sure. I think that when we think about what the U.S. Secret Service is doing for their protectees, someone like Mr. Trump, their job from an intelligence perspective is to review the range of threats affecting the former president. So that's threats from countries like Iran, Russia, China, as well as threats from individuals within our borders. That may be folks known as domestic violent extremists, as well as individuals inspired by foreign terrorist organizations who live here. And it is part of the Secret Service's mission to ensure that they have the deepest intelligence picture possible so that they can put resources where they're needed when it comes to the protectees. But as we're focused on the horrific assassination attempt in Pennsylvania, this is just a reminder that there is such a diverse set of threats facing Mr. Trump, facing this country, and that law enforcement and the intelligence community are under enormous pressure because of the diversity and volume of threats in play here, Lindsay.
Sam Vinograd, thank you.